Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to our not so instant reaction pod to talk Lazio Napoli, to talk transfer market, incomings, outgoings, the state of the club. There's a lot that we want to cover. We typically, for those of you that are subscribed to our channel, that follow us, that listen to our podcasts, know we like to go live immediately after matches. This one kicking off West Coast time, 3 a.m., East Coast time, 6 a.m. Caleb doing some traveling, getting back home. It was tough for us to coordinate to do it immediately, but I think it works out for the best because this was not a good match and allowed us to just kind of soak it all in and do a little bit more than just cover the match at hand. There's been so much happening with Lazio, so we want to spend a little bit of time talking about it all. But first, Caleb, it's been a while. You've been out of the country? You were in Costa Rica for the holidays. It's good to see you, my friend. How was your Christmas and New Year? Buon anno, Happy New Year.
Yeah, man, it was great. I was out of town. I was in Costa Rica. For those of you who don't know, I am half Costa Rican, believe it or not. I look white as can be, about as American gringo as can be, but I do have some Latin in me. So I was there with family, my wife's family. Had a wonderful time. Escaped the cold a little bit where I'm at. So I'm glad to be back, though. I'm glad to be back in the swing of things. Glad to be back talking about Lazio. And see,
are you though?
I mean, I'm back, but at least I get to spend time with my boy Sean here, so it's cool.
We'll appreciate it. This club always gives us something to talk about, good, bad. We love them either way. But let's jump in. Look, we'll chat briefly about this match. There's some important nuggets to pull from this, and it'll lead to some conversation about everything that's happening with Lazio. But let me tell you, brutal all around. Like, I woke up at 3 a.m. for this one. Kickoff was 3:30 a.m. my time. I am half asleep, struggling, and as tired as I was, as lifeless as I was, Lazio was more asleep. It came out more weary, more tired, more out of it than I was, which tells you everything about this match. It was an absolute disgraceful performance, man. We just top down, completely outclassed in so many phases, and it just happened right away. I mean, the goal comes 13 minutes into this one, and it's a complete lack of concentration between Cancellieri and even Marusic. Cancellieri losing his man, Marusic not necessarily doing a good enough job to step up, and Spinazzola, well, it was a very nice finish on a volley. It's just piss poor defending, and it really told the story of what we would see the entire match, because it was crosses into the box that Lazio really struggled from. In the 32nd minute, they find that second goal. And look, we're going to talk about, and this sucks. I don't want this to be a podcast. I don't want people to feel like, particularly us, because fans of their teams always think that they are hard done by referee decisions. And look, refs make bad decisions. It's usually happening on both sides, and it kind of evens out over the scope of a season. But Lazio, look, you can talk about conspiracies and all of that, but won't even go into that. That's all hypothetical. What we know is that Lazio has been on the wrong side of calls. And sometimes you can look at calls and say, hey, it's kind of 50-50, and you hope it evens out. We're not getting 50-50 calls, even if they are 50-50. And a lot of these calls aren't 50-50 decisions. They're just straight up bad decisions. You think about the 32nd minute, Napoli scores on a free kick. Well done. Hats off. They scored. It's our piss poor defending. It's their execution. But that free kick should have never happened. Noslin is fouled. And because of the foul, I mean, his arm is close to his body anyways. The ref calls a handball, gives Napoli a free kick. Napoli is levels ahead of us. There is a clear difference in quality the last thing Napoli needs is referee help. The last thing we need, market ban, players out, player lacking quality. Last thing we need is the refs to be against us too. And that second goal, nail in the coffin, changes everything. Not that we were going to do much, but just disheartening. And then you go to the second half and you're seeing, a second. First of all, Caleb, when Naslin got his first yellow, I know that Napoli and Milinkovic-Savic were all up in arms and upset at Naslin. They had a player go down, and then Lazio, Napoli plays the ball out. Lazio doing the classy thing and just the traditional thing and playing it back so that Napoli would gain possession. And then Napoli passes it back to Milinkovic-Savic, and Naslin's pressing the ball, just a light press, not even full-blown effort. And from what I gathered, they were upset at Naslin. And then through that whole ordeal, I think Naslin walks away with a yellow and then gets a second yellow and given a red card in the 81st minute. It's deemed a foul on Buongiorno. And you take a look at the replay, and there's not even contact made. And now I can argue and say, man, I wish Naslin didn't go in for the challenge. Not kind of unnecessary. He's in his own zone. But again, Lazio is fighting to do something. It's the 81st minute. We're down 2. I'm not really super upset at Naslin because he's just trying. I'm sure they're all frustrated. He's trying to win the ball back. Silly challenge, but he doesn't even make contact. And forget giving him a foul. You give him a yellow, knowing he's on a yellow already. It's a red card. Really, really tough. So you see these things kind of going your way. And then, of course, the straight red card to Marusic and Mazzacchi at Napoli in the 89th minute. I'd say pretty justifiable red card for both. Marusic is annoyed because Mazzocchi is like being really physical with him leading up to that. Really, really physical. And Marusic pushes him, and gives him, and then Mazzocchi gets up, pushes back, boom, 2 red cards, fair, that's fine. But now we are kind of looking ahead. This one ends 2-0. Disaster from Lazio, first half in which they are lifeless. There's nothing. They start the second half a little bit better, but forget it. You scrap this match. It was just absolute garbage. Napoli levels ahead, some bad calls, blah, 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 blah. All that's in the window. And, but here we are taking a look at what is ahead of us. We now have 2 players, 2 starters, Marusic and Naslin, which just on the topic of Naslin's red card, really unfortunate. And a change needs to happen because VAR can't intervene in the situation. Usually VAR can be used for red card situations, but only if it's a straight red. His red comes on a second yellow. It can't be reviewed. So that has to change because, again, it is a game-changing decision. It's not going to affect this match because Napoli is playing so much better than us. But, I'm just curious to see what's going to happen. Do they revoke a suspension? Is there any ability to do that? But as of today, in this moment, we will be without Marusic, and we play midweek this week. So Lazio has to play Fiorentina, who is obviously in a relegation battle. They're starting to pick up maybe a little bit of steam. Midweek match, Fiorentina. We're going to be without Naslin. We got no strikers. We're going to be without Marusic, and a team that's just really, really struggling right now in so many facets. So I know it's a lot there, Caleb. Immediate thoughts looking at what the squad is?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I think a result like this doesn't bother me as much as the last 2 results we've had. Winnable games. I felt like a lot of points were lost. We didn't capitalize. We get those 2 wins the last 2 games. We get 3 points.
Yeah.
We're saying Napoli are contending for the title, whatever, next game. But I mean, think about this. I mean, you look at the Serie A table, we've struggled, but we're still just, about 6 points off from 6th. Yes, Como have a game in hand. and Bologna have a game in hand, but we're still within that 7 to 7 point range of right there for a European spot. We win those last two matches at 6 points. We're at least in a sort of sixth, fifth, kind of at worst seventh kind of race, like really just knocking on the door of the European spot. So I'm less upset about this result than I am about the last two. The last two, I couldn't really speak on. Was on the show. I was out of town. The last two were incredibly frustrating because they were there, and like we have the quality. Yes, our squad is not elite, but we still have the quality. We still have a coach that has quality to get results in these matches. And so really this game, I feel like it's a compound effect of, because we drew the last two, this one became a lot more important when we're not in the same league as these guys right now. We're not in the same league as a Napoli right now. So those are my initial thoughts on this particular result. I
want to say something because that's such a good point. Real quick, this match, I think that's again, it's important to say, this one you go into it thinking it's going to be a loss, and any sort of point draw is like you're happy with. I think that frustration mounts because it changes now. You look at this and we were 5 matches unbeaten, right? You're like, okay, 5 matches unbeaten. Now we lose. And because of this loss, you look back at it now and it's not 5 games unbeaten. It's how many matches did we go without winning and securing 3 points. It's now 3 matches without a win, and 2 of those 3 coming against sides we absolutely should have picked up 3 points against. And I think you're right. That frustration really just compounded by those last 2 games that were winnable games. So I think you're spot on there.
Yeah, I think that's the main issue. Like it's just us not capitalizing. Like it's the draws, the lack of points. Like we will go into it later on, but and talk about the real state and sort of what our expectations are for the rest of the season. But I think this is in a situation of, man, we are just so far removed from being able to do anything this season, and I think the margins are just really slim, and we haven't been on the better side of those margins this year. In this case, the last 2 games cost us dearly. We went into them thinking we got to start the season strong, start the year strong. Great opportunity for us to get the year off to a good start, get some momentum. We didn't do it. We lose against Napoli. We'll discuss more what this means for the long term.
Yeah, I think for me, again, when you go into this and it's Napoli, they are Scudetto winners. They're fighting for another Scudetto. There's a clear difference in quality when it comes to players. But Lazio and what we particularly liked about this side this year, and make no mistake, this doesn't change my view. Sarri is working absolute miracles with this team. They were hard to beat. And even in games that we dropped points or lost, we were hard to beat, particularly against big sides. And today, that wasn't the case. And that's what was frustrating. Losing a match, yeah, it's Napoli. Like, you kind of expect it. But we came out with a lack of urgency. We came out with just a lack of any sort of energy, cohesion. And we were too easy to beat, too easy for them to break us open. Again, poor defensive efforts. We could not stop any crosses into the box. And it wasn't due to a lack of size or they were out muscling us or physicalities. It was simply mental man-marking decisions and mistakes and brain farts. So that for me was really the frustrating thing about today, on top of the compounded like referee decisions, which, man, it sucks. It's like this never-ending cycle. I think it's really, give me your thoughts. I think it's hurting us now. I think we go into matches mentally expecting the worst. I think things happen and it's starting to put us on edge. And it seems like now are we a side that's always going to be bickering with the refs? Are we always going to bitch about every call? Do we feel like, and it's just, are we losing our concentration, our cool? because of this. I don't know. How do you think that's maybe affecting this side?
I think there's two ways something like this can affect the team. I think the first way is what you mentioned. It's a way of like it's a bit demoralizing, frustrations. It may affect your judgment, your ability to play at your best. The other way that you can take this and some teams take it is like, okay, bet. Like the refs are coming after us, we're still going to get these results. Whatever the ref does, we're still going to come in there and we're going to try our best. We're going to get results regardless of the refs. Like we're going to if you have to take them the refs and the other team, like fair enough. Like so be it. We'll do it. I don't think what I said there a second, what I just finished saying is the approach we're taking, but I also don't think we're too far deep on the other side either. I still think the team is okay mentally, but I do think that more so results like the 1-1s are the ones that really piss off and frustrate the team. Like I think it's like you those last two games, we come in two draws, don't have the points that we need to get from those. You come into this one, you're already frustrated you didn't get those games. You concede early, you concede again in the first half. I think that accumulation certainly damages the psyche of the team, but I don't know if I want to say just yet that it's like a permanent state of the team and just more so a result of how they started this year or the end of last season or the end of last year going into the new year. But certainly, I do think it has an effect on the team, and I don't think it's a positive one right now.
Yeah, it's tough right now. It seems to be a team kind of playing on edge. And again, you think about the frustrations about Udinese, for example. Bit of luck for us to score our goal, but this has been a season where we just have nothing going our way, and so we finally get a little bit of luck against Udinese, only to be hard done in the final whistle of the game, and right before the final whistle of the match, where a handball is not spotted, and Udinese goes on to score a winner. And it's these types of decisions and calls, which in the moment, Lazio is yelling and shouting and asking for the handball, and it's not given. And then you see every replay, every casual, every fan can spot it a mile away. It's not given. And that, it's really disappointing because, yes, we can sit here and say it shouldn't come down to that against Udinese, but let's be honest, in terms of quality, like we're not that much better than an Udinese this year. And so kind of taking a look at this side, what we have available, we've got an important transfer market, the most important winter market that I can recall in team history, not team history. I'm sorry. That's in probably the last 10 years or so. We've got to make changes if there's any hopes of Europe. And I don't even know if we should be thinking that. So let's talk about the state of the team. First, the biggest piece to this is since the last time we spoke this week, Tati Castellanos makes his way to West Ham in a deal that looks to be around 30 million. Maurizio Sarri was asked about this post-match in the presser. His comments was essentially that Tati Castellanos was leaning towards a solution. So when it's like that, it's difficult to retain a player. Of course, we would have liked to have been prepared for a situation like this. So he had been asked about his permission about the club selling Tati. So, it looks like it was something Tati was very open to. And so not wanting to stand in his way, but of course, wishing that we would have been a little bit more prepared. So current state of affairs right now is that our only striker is non-existent because we're out with Noslin. Dia is out at AFCON, and that's it. Those are the only two strikers. So let's spend a little bit of time on that position, where we know that is a position of desperate need, both in the transfer market, and then I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how we approach Fiorentina and who plays in that role. So first, give me your thoughts on Tati leaving, and curious to hear who you think we should replace him with.
Man, it's I got mixed emotions about Tati. I really enjoyed his game. I think that he had more to give to Lazio's shirt. I really thought he was a profile player that could be here for a while if the conditions were good, performances were good. Um, I do think he was misutilized with his time here. Under his time here, I do think a second striker, like had he come under Inzaghi, two striker formation, someone behind Immobile type, you know what I'm saying? Like under that sort of system, I think he would have thrived. But when you're coming into a system where you have a single striker, you have two sort of box to box midfielders, a holding midfielder, box to box midfielders who don't really do much creation or scoring. So I just think that these strengths weren't really utilized to the maximum here. I also think that I probably could have done a little bit more for sure. I'm not saying that, but there has been a bit of just a club as a whole has been a little bit chaotic in the past few years with manager changes and I thought maybe Sadi could come back and okay, this is my second run here with Tati. Like, see, maybe get some more out of him. Unfortunately, he couldn't. So, with that said, I would have loved to have Tati here. I would love to have a Tati jersey, but 30 million for Tati is a crazy amount of money. I don't think he's nearly worth. I think max he's 20 mil player. Really, at max I think a 15 mil player. To be fair to him, you can't turn that down. Nelson has shown good moments as well. So when you have something like that, I'm okay with that move. I'm very okay with that move. We cashed out when we should have. We haven't cashed out in the past on players when we should have, and it's cost us. It's bit us in the butt. But this time we did. So I am applauding the club for that move because we've been on the bad end of this where we've been too late or too greedy. So with that said, man, options to replace him, it's difficult. It's difficult. And we're linked with Insigne. We're linked with all these players. Is that a position you think we need to address before January ends?
I think so. I mean, today would probably make it even a greater case that it's of utmost priority. I think for me, the player that made perhaps the most sense, it was Raspadori. Rumors were that he was really close, that Roma was pressing to finalize a deal with him. However, all the latest that came out early today was that his party was slowing it as they evaluate a potential offer and interest from Lazio.
Yeah,
I think that's a really interesting profile of a player that has a lot of likenesses to a Dries Mertens, who Sadi was able to transform into a fantastic striker. I think he's a player that has a ton of flexibility that could thrive in our system. He's also a player that really needs playing time. And so it's really interesting because a move to Roma would certainly benefit him greater by salary. They can offer more money, pay him a lot more than Lazio can. But what Lazio can offer is less competition. He can come in and take the reins of leading our attacking line. And if I'm him, looking at a World Cup and wanting to ensure his place on it, potentially start, I think that is a no-brainer under Maurizio Sarri, which, from all indications, it's a manager that he likes. So I think that, for me, I think it's really important. But I say this, and we're going to talk about this when it comes to all of the players that we're linked to and positions. But here's an interesting quote from Sarri.
Go ahead.
Because when we talk about the transfer market, Sarri was asked what can be improved on the squad. And Sarri said, quote unquote, "You'll need to ask our sporting director, Fabiani, about that. We had a meeting and I told him we need better players in certain positions. It's no use to sign players of the same level. Then it's better to just stay as is." So it's an interesting view of this. And I think it's an important one because when I look at this squad, Sarri and I wholeheartedly agree, like there's no point in making changes if it's not going to drastically improve our side. Don't make them for the sake of making them. Let's not sign guys like Ibrahimovic last winter, right? Guys that come in, they don't play. Belayan, who had no effect.
Yeah.
You either sign players of quality or let's just stay flat. We finished this year 8th, 9th, 10th, and then we focus and retool next year. That's what Sarri is saying. Don't sell a Tati only to bring in another $10-12 million striker that can't score or doesn't fit the profile to be successful under Sarri. So I think that's really interesting. So that's just kind of Sarri's outlook.
I saw that, and it's very interesting. I think this is even almost like I feel like it's kind of just like his own experience with Lazio. Like, I think he's seen us do this before. Of like, kind of, we're not going anywhere here. We really need to elevate our player profiles, and I like him saying that because we've tried to target players that are maybe under the radar, which is fine. Like, naturally, we have to do that to a degree because we don't have the cash to spend. But I'm very much want Lazio to start pursuing some real proven talent. Like, I'm not talking about your top upcoming player at 23, Lamine Yamal. I'm talking about like guys who have been solid in Europe in the top 5 leagues over the past 3-4 years that have consistently put up numbers. The name that comes to mind is Oyarzabal. From Real Sociedad over in La Liga. We've been linked to him. Rumors are we're still interested in signing him. He's 27. He's been at Real Sociedad for a while now. He's been a consistent goal contributor for them. And so Oyarzabal for me is a type of profile I would love to sign. He's 28, my bad. But it's obviously going to cost some money for sure. But when I'm looking at like profiles, that's what I'm looking for. Like, yes, there's like one real young stud. That's for the low. I'm all for it. But ultimately, this team for me needs some proven players. Tati himself was a solid guy in La Liga, but he's by no means a leading striker or force on his team. He had a great game against Real Madrid, but at Girona, he did not have he wasn't the man there, right? Or he wasn't like one of like a true focal point of the team. And those guys are expensive. I get that. But for me, that type of Oyarzabal, even Delabashiru it's a guy in a Turkish league, did okay. Again, not really proven. These are guys that are like, okay, we think they can hit the next level with us. But players have come here and they've not hit the next level with us. That's the reality. They haven't. So if we're not in a club that can nourish and are able to get more out of these players, I think of the Leicester Cities back in the day. I think of Brighton recently. I think of even Bologna in some cases. Like, these are hubs and places where players have shown that they can get more out of them and they can be more productive than the previous locations. Lazio has not been a location like that in recent years, even though it was for a while. So
that's because of the disconnect between president and sporting director and coach. Where and this is why I really like these comments from Sarri to kind of nip this in the bud of what we've seen year after year, particularly thinking last year with the signings of Belayan and Ibrahimovic, where it seems so often, particularly in the winter market, where a coach, Baroni, you name it, every single manager that we've had under Lotito, managers, hey, we need reinforcements. We need players. And then they go out and sign these guys that don't fit the profiles required under that manager, aren't of the level. And then you've got sporting director and Lotito running around patting themselves on the back. Look, we signed 3 or 4 guys. What a great winter market. And then we never see those players play. And so Sarri, I appreciate coming out now saying, look, better to not sign anybody. Like, you don't need to make me happy by saying we signed 3 guys and they aren't players that are better than what we have. Let's just look to the summer, right? And I know as fans, we're clamoring for some sort of sign. And man, at this point, it feels like we just need some bodies. But I think I agree with Sarri. Like, just do not sign guys if they aren't quality, and you're going to be paying more for them in the winter. So let's just turn an eye towards the summer and scratch and claw and get guys back and do what we can, unless some of these profiles like Oyarzabal or Raspadori come available.
100%. For me, Raspadori does not fit that profile. I want to be very clear on that too.
Okay.
For me, this is not a proven player. This is a player that's very similar to Tati Castellanos, that he's never been all that productive. He's been in and out of the starting lineups of the places he's been at. He's been passed around. He's no longer this top young prospect coming out. He's coming in and he's a pretty established player at this point. I think there's a good idea of what we can expect from someone like Raspadori. So for me, even though would I take him? Yes, but is he going to be the guy of that quality that takes this team to the next level? I personally do not believe so. Personally, because I think he's a great role player, a great player that is flexible. We can play him as a backup striker. We can play him on the left wing in case Zakanya gets yellow card accumulation, needs a break. He can play him on the right if you really need to. He still has, he's still, good enough for the league. But when Sadi says we need players of better quality, for me, Raspadori does not fit that profile right now. I think he's much more the same that we've signed of like these guys that are 23, 24, 25, and not all that special, just kind of decent, okay, top 5 league players. Like that's, for me, that doesn't elevate the team. It's a signing of like, okay, we have our locked stars. Now let's kind of build around it so we can start bringing some depth to really start pushing for, a trophy through other competitions, compete in Champions League. Like that's the kind of player that I see him as personally. Another interesting name linked. I don't know if you've seen this, but Joaquin Panicelli. I don't know if you've been seeing links with him, but he's this 23-year-old Argentine striker who plays over in Ligue 1. He plays for Strasbourg, and he has 17 appearances, 10 goals, and he's like 6'4". So a real like Scamacca type of profile, right? But he doesn't seem to be as injury prone, of course. And he's getting top 5 league goals right now in a great developmental league. And he's Argentinian. And so someone that I found was a pretty interesting prospect. His current transfer market value is 25 million euros. Which is pretty expensive. But I think a 25 million offer could maybe get him, and he's a player that's 23. But the difference between this 23-year-old and 23-year-old Dele Bashiru, this guy has double-digit goals already halfway into the season for top 5 league club. And so I like that profile. If we're gonna go younger, I like to go like kind of that 23, 22-year-old, not 18-year-old, not 19-year-old. So he's a name that's been interesting, that's been thrown around that I would like to see as well. But yeah, this is the main thing I want to talk to you about, Sean, is how attractive is Lazio right now as a location? Not only as a location to come to, as a location to stay. Tati, someone who's like, plays for the club, plays his heart out for the badge, apparently pushed a move to West Ham. Guendouzi, also linked to be rumored out. How much of Guendouzi's thought process right now is, yeah, there's not really anything here for me in Lazio. I'm not getting paid as much as I'm going to get paid somewhere else. I'm not playing in Champions League. I'm not competing for trophies. So I might as well go either to a team competing for Champions League or to Turkey, where I still get European soccer and I get paid double. Like how, and then Gigo, of course, I don't know the story behind him. People forget he's on the roster. I sometimes forget the roster, but there's something going on that we don't know about. I think my main question and concern right now is more so, how attractive is Lazio as a place? Like, are we even in a position to attract that level of quality right now? Like, and is our sporting director good enough to find these players that maybe are being overlooked and aren't in a position to where like Lazio doesn't look so attractive? Like, so I think we're really tough spot right now. And that's why I do think that pushing, you talk about this season might be washed, but for me, it's like, hey, we need to push for this season, even if it's like a 6th or 7th. We just need to be able to show to prospects, hey, we're just on the wall. We're right on the border of getting into European next season. We want you to help us get there, right? Like that's why for me, this season is not a wash in terms of, hey, like we can totally win Champions League spot. We can totally hit Europa. It's more so, hey, let's at least try and be really competitive so we can have something to show to prospects that we really want to sign, that have that quality, and say, hey, we're right there. if you're going to somebody to sign somebody and we're sitting in 10th compared to sitting in a 7th, I think that makes a difference. I think that makes a difference in negotiations. And I think that makes a difference in being able to show somebody and really sell them on, hey, you are the piece we need to get into those European spots, right? So that's my take on sort of what my prospects and what my goal is for the rest of the season is. Yes, I agree with you in terms of, hey, we need to start thinking about next season and signings and really kind of do whatever we can to prepare best for the next season to make that big push. But I do definitely believe that this season still needs to be full steam ahead. Let's just really try to have a strong finish here so we can even have prospects come summer.
Yeah. So to answer your question, how attractive is Lazio for players? Not very. And let me reposition what I meant by saying this season is a wash. This season is a wash in terms of realistically competing for Champions League, even finding our way into Europe. Now, mathematically, like there's still a lot of football ahead, and you just never know. But when I say that, I mean I don't want us making short-term decisions that hurt a project.
100%. Yeah.
What needs to be thought of and the central focus from the president and sporting director is the project. And that is what's going to be attractive to players. It's, okay, how do you, maybe we're in 8th. Maybe we sit outside of Europe. What is the project? Can you get behind that? Is it exciting? Do you see momentum? Here's the manager, Maurizio Sarri, with European credentials, still a manager that players want to play for. This is what we're building. This is what it looks like. Here's some momentum. So I agree with you. We need to have positive momentum to showcase a project and something that players can get behind. But we're not going to be an attractive option for top level players, right? Top level players want to be playing in Champions League, and we are not in that position. However, that doesn't mean we can't get good players. Every situation is a little bit different. So and maybe you don't think Raspadori is that level, but I'm just going to use them as an example.
Okay.
Even somebody like Chiesa, let's use Chiesa as an example. And he has no links to Lazio right now. But like Chiesa is a player that has a ton of quality, that is getting minimal opportunities at Liverpool, and is finding success every single time he does get an opportunity. Those types of players like a Raspadori playing at Atletico Madrid and has some quality, not getting any chances, we become a little bit more attractive when the value proposition is, hey, playing time and still playing in a top league and Serie A and World Cup is ahead, and you need players that are just playing. And so I think every player situation is a little bit different. Thinking about how we landed Ciro Immobile, a player of that profile. Hey, was a top player in our league, wasn't getting the right opportunities, didn't find a ton of success abroad. Boom, we landed him. Luis Alberto, a young player, a Liverpool castaway, wasn't getting a ton of opportunities, and we came in with a chance to play at a top league and at one of the better clubs in that league. And so I think it just depends on every player situation. We need to be better about finding players that are motivated, that have a bit of quality, that maybe the sporting director needs to identify those players who maybe aren't seeing their best because of a situation. And we're the right situation for them, the right style, the right manager. And we've got to be better at hitting on those players versus, hoping that some 19-year-old that's playing for Bayern Munich 2 is the answer. So that doesn't mean you can't do both, right? We were able to land a Milinkovic-Savic during that era where we had Luis Albertos and Ciro Immobiles. But I think we've got to build a project that's what has to be enticing. But I think we need to go after players that we've seen quality before.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can get them because we can we may not be able to provide European play right now, but we can provide playing opportunities. So yeah. So you brought up Guendouzi. Let's chat about him because he is linked to a potential move to Turkey. Fenerbahce, I believe the quoted numbers, the reported numbers were 25 million euros plus bonuses. What would you do?
Man, this is a tough one. For me, it's fully dependent on where the player's head is at. If the player is wanting out, yeah, 100% take that, 100%. If the player is not necessarily that way and he still believes in the project, then no. Like Guendouzi, at the end of the day, yes, he's not the best available, but he's still a really good player for us for the most part. He still has good qualities to him that are helpful in any team. I think it's going to be tough to find upgrades for him, under that $30 million mark, right? Do we believe that Dele Bashiru? Do we believe that Abelayan? Do we believe these guys have what it takes to come in and hit that next level of stride? I don't think so. And if we don't believe in those guys, we believe in Nelson coming up, right? I think a lot of us feel pretty decent about Nelson of hey, at the very least, he's going to be the same as Tati. At the very least, he'll replace him and we'll get sort of similar output. I don't think we're going to get Guendouzi level output from, and when I mean just in what he provides from these other guys that we have currently on the roster. So for me, fully dependent on where Guendouzi's head is at. If he's like, man, this Lazio's a dud, I really got nothing to do here. And what I mentioned earlier, I might as well just get paid more and play Champions League for a Turkish club. Then fair enough. Take that 30 mil, run with it. Otherwise, I would love to keep Guendouzi around. I think it's going to be tough to find a player to replace him. But with that said, I do believe that having a real true attacking playmaker in the midfield is we're just such desperate need of that, man. Whether it's Luis Alberto, Milinkovic, Savic, we miss a guy like them so badly right now. We get no sort of output from them. We're heavily dependent on our wingers for creation. One of those wingers is Isaacson, Cancellieri. Isaacson don't believe in so much. Cancellieri, maybe there's something there. Maybe we can do some more. But I think players just like Cancellieri, Zakanya, our strikers, would the whole team would benefit as a whole if we can get some sort of attacking output from a midfield. So, what's the guy's name that we've been linked to a lot? Sardizic. What's
He was
like Udinese. Just got
Samardic, who had was also heavily linked, was close to a move to Inter. His father is a bit of a head case who deals. Yeah, I think he's his agent. But he's had some strong performances in Serie A. The other player is Giovanni Fabian from Bologna, Italian midfielder, a little bit more of that creative type of midfielder. I agree with you. I think largely dependent on where Guendouzi's head is at. And then the other piece to this is, I think if we sell him, it can't be under 30 million. Just got 30 for Tati. I think Guendouzi is a better player in his position than Tati was at his.
Yeah.
So I think, market kind of dictates he's got to be sold for at least 30. And then for me, it's about the replacement.
Yeah.
It's always about the replacement. So if we can use that 30 million, whether it's this market or not, or the summer, we have to bring in somebody who is the right profile, who is more of an attacking player. To your point, we so desperately miss a midfielder that can score goals or break the lines through playmaking passes, and we just don't have that. We have a lot of workhorses, and we have no creativity. So even when Rovella is not that type of a player, Cataldi not that type of a player. Obviously, they're your more registas, but Toman Basic seems to be the best option, and it's Toman Basic. So I think. Look, you said this earlier as well. We have been a side that has held on to players for too long. I think maybe if you can get 30 plus million for Guendouzi, it might be the right time, because we also know he hasn't played his best this year. It's a dip. It might be the right time to sell him, but it's tough because you just have such little faith that it's going to turn into an upgrade. Does it turn into another Dele Bashiru? Like, then we're in trouble.
You know what's crazy? What's crazy to think about is Guendouzi is 26, man. He's 26 years old.
Yeah.
Like, Guendouzi's been playing in top 5 league level for like nearly 8 years now at this point. Like where are you gonna find someone that's 26 and has this much experience at the highest level? And keep in mind, Guendouzi was in the French national team. He is in the current mix of the French national team players. Like, he is in the current mix of arguably one of the most talented nation of footballers. And Guendouzi's right there, has the attention of the head coach in the French national team, is getting calls to the French national team and playing for the French national team during these World Cup qualifiers. Our Guendouzi, if he wants to be here, like, please, for the love of God, keep him here. Like, as long as you can. If he doesn't, then cash out. Yeah. That's my take on that.
Yeah, it's fair. But again, we've also seen kind of what this club looks like under different systems with him. So, we already maxed out. Have we seen the best of Guendouzi?
I don't think we have.
Have we seen the best of this midfield? Does it make sense to have a midfield that's Rovella, Guendouzi, and then who, now you tell me we go out and sign that player, that Milinkovic, that playmaker, that attacking midfielder, and we have him with a Rovella, with a Guendouzi. Now I'm interested. Now we're cooking. But where are those funds coming from? Right? Like, where that's the question. Where are those funds coming from? We have to sell. We've said this all year long. We have to sell in order to buy quality players. Well, that means selling quality players, selling a Tati for 30, selling a Guendouzi for 30. That gives us at least $60 million to spend. That's the problem for us. We can't just go out and find a $20 to $30 million midfielder without selling. And who are we going to sell? You're not going to can't sell Toma Basic.
I will say, like, if we're talking about rumor links, if we're able to sell Guendouzi, use that money to buy Samardzic, what's his name again?
Yeah. I think that's
I'm all for that. He's just way more attacking profile of that, and I think as a player of, like, he's sort of I think he's been a really prime spot to get him because he was rumored to his big link, and he's kind of stagnating a little bit. We know he can offer more, and I think he's sort of he's more of a Milinkovic Savage type of profile than what Guendouzi is. And I think he'd be a huge benefit. I believe Basic can do a lot of what Guendouzi does now. I think Basic's work ethic has been excellent. I think Basic is even scarier in the attack. I think Basic offers even more going forward. He's able to win the ball. He goes on, takes a shot. He makes runs into the box. He has a big presence, big size to him. Athletically, I think he's more athletic than Guendouzi. I'm not saying he's a better overall player, but I mean, this version of Basic, assuming he remains the way that he plays, assuming this isn't just some like random wonder spell of like in the season, that's what I wouldn't be. So I wouldn't be, too upset when Guendouzi leaves. But again, it's the fact of who's replacing him. If it's someone like this, it's a profile that can elevate the league. Yeah, 100%. Let's do it. If not, like, he's 26. In theory, we would have a better squad next season. We're finishing, trying to push for top 4 spot ideally, right? Undecided, he does some miracles here. Like, we have great defense. Now we have more attacking talent. And Guendouzi all of a sudden plays better ball. Like, hey, that's a $40 million player now at that point. So it's tough. Like you said, the difficult part is the confidence we have in the sporting director, the team, to replace these people and make the right moves.
The other thing people forget about is we also have to resign players. And so you've got the likes of Romagnoli that needs to be signed to a new contract. Mario Gila, who needs to be extended so we don't find ourselves in a situation next year where we lose a player of his value for free. We're just signing him just so we can sell him. Toma Basic needs to be signed to a new contract so we don't just lose him for free. So I think that's the other frustrating piece to this is not only do we need the funds to find new players, we need that money to re-sign some of the players. So yeah, just taking a look ahead to our next match, Caleb, thinking about Fiorentina midweek. We are now without a striker. What do you do?
I'm playing Pedro as a false nine, man. I'm
Yeah,
playing
that's what I
Pedro
did.
as a false nine, have Zaccagni, Cancelleri run off of him. That for me, that's boom. Like that's it. That's the
Yeah,
move.
agree. Easy. What about in at left back? Is it just are we running like what do we do now? Is it Pellegrini and Lazzari? Is like I think that's probably the only thing that we can do, right? With Marusic having a red card. Does Nuno, who is rumored to be on the way out, like see any match time?
I mean, Hisai is an option there. Like
Yeah.
personally,
He's
I
still
like.
I guess the question is Hisai in the squad list? Is he
He was in the squad list today. He was
today?
on the
Okay.
bench.
All
He was
right.
on the
So he
bench
is on that
today.
sheet. Okay.
So for me, I'm going Hisai, right back, Pellegrini left back personally. Yeah, I think these are pretty simple choices. Yeah, that's kind of all we can do, really. I mean, our squad is so small at this point. Like, there's only like one option and maybe a slight variation of that, and that's it. Like, you just gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah, 100%. Very limited in options. So yeah, we'll see. It's it really going to be interesting to see who we end up signing and to be able to give Sadi options, right? Because the one player that I thought was kind of at the doorstep was Insigne, which wasn't going to necessarily help out immediately. I think it was something else that he was asked about in the press conference. He was asked, could Insigne change the formation? Maurizio Sarri said, no, I don't think so. Advishe Zaccagni is currently the least of our problems. We have other priorities, which, again, completely agree with. And I don't know that Insigne can come in and play striker or even a false nine. I don't know what his role would be. I'm not as keen on the player as maybe you and others are, but yeah, we'll see. This Fiorentina match, look, I don't care what the table says. They are still a quality team that has quality players, and we aren't necessarily playing our best football right now. So an important match for us. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We will make sure to record an emergency pod should we sign anybody or sell anybody. Stay tuned. Give us those 5-star ratings. If you follow us on YouTube, thank you. Share, subscribe, 5-star ratings, and sempre Forza Lazio.